Hello everybody and welcome to episode 1 of REBBL Recap for my games of the Big O Division 5A I think I am in, or 5B, Division 5 somewhere. Just started a brand new team in the Reddit Blood Bowl League, Reddit Eternal Blood Bowl League, playing with Chaos Dwarves. Game number 1 we're up against Catman Attack, who is playing Chaos. We went into this game down on a Bull Centaur after we copped a Mystics game on the other Bull Centaur in our last pre-season game. So we came in and we were down quite a bit of TV, so I actually ended up having a Wizard and a Bloodwiser Babe at my disposal. No one on the bench though for me, one on the bench for him. Minotaur with a skill, 2 rerolls and Apothecary, so his team was pretty kitted out. I won the toss, elected to receive, which I think is almost always the right thing to do with Chaos Dwarves. You want to try and hurt your opponent, make the game a little bit easier for you. You're going to see straight away, I actually think I make a mistake here. I elect to carry the ball with the Bull Centaur, when I really think I should have carried the ball with a Hobgoblin, so we managed to get an extra reroll. The ball goes deep, but what I've actually done, if you have a look here, so I've got blocks on the line of scrimmage relatively easily, but I don't really have a good blitz if I manage to knock everyone down on the line of scrimmage, which I do. So everyone gets knocked down. I think I knocked this player down on the next block, but it's after this where I sort of struggle. I get a little bit lucky because what I do is I do a 1-dice blitz on the Chaos Warrior here, and I do end up actually killing him. So really rough for Catman Attack because he has to use the Apothecary turn 1 of the game. He ends up dying, ends up having to use the Apothecary. I think it ends up being still a bad injury, yeah, so a 54, so he doesn't come back, an armor break. But that was really lucky for me, and not probably ideal. It's not what I should have done, and I do leave a lot of players hanging here, so I just try and keep these players in a sort of secure position where they have to dodge away, try and keep these players all friendly. Bull Centaur does manage to pick the ball up without having to use a reroll, so that's quite good. His turn, he blitzes the Hobgoblin here, which is... he actually blitzed the Chaos Dwarf. I thought he blitzed the Hobgoblin. No, that's right, he blitzes the Chaos Dwarf so he can get another block on the Chaos Dwarf with the Chaos Warrior. I think against Chaos Dwarves, you're almost always better to just blitz Hobgoblins and try and hurt them. They're AV7. I've got no one on the bench, so it's just an easier play to take down. His turn, he just sort of marks quite a few of my players up with Chaos Warriors. This was a bit of a difficult matchup without any guard. The strength 4, I did struggle a bit to get around that without having to do either 2-die block uphill or 1-dice blocks. I just moved the ball carrier down here. I run in, do a blitz to try and free up a player, only get a push. If I had have got a knockdown there, I would have been able to maybe get some more blocks, but we don't get it, so we just try and focus on some blocks over here. Just try and keep the Bull Centaur as safe as we can. Like I said though, I think picking the ball up with the Bull Centaur was a mistake, and I either should have picked the ball up with maybe this Hobgoblin or maybe this Hobgoblin. Given that they don't have block, and this is a pretty good matchup to have block in. Get lucky with a dodge away there, 3+ dodge away to just sort of keep the middle protected a little bit and make it so that his Minotaur has to blitz if he wants to get down. Like I said, you'll probably see me, I think from memory I do a few 2-die block uphills just to try and get my players free or get myself into a better position. So my turn 3, and I'm not feeling great about myself. He unfortunately uses the blitz there and fails with the Minotaur, so wild animals out, which is good for me, bad for him. But as you can see here, I don't have a great position to go. This guy's in the way. This guy's in the way. Like I said, it's very hard for me to blitz Chaos Warriors. That's why if the Bull Centaur wasn't carrying the ball, he would be able to run around and blitz Chaos Warriors relatively easily. So I had a bit of a plan here. I was hoping to knock this Beastman down and potentially back so I could follow up and get another block over here. But at this stage, I'm a little bit worried about what I'm going to do. I'm just trying my best to maximize blocks, knock a few guys down, and then sort of worry where the ball's going to go. But I do end up putting the ball here, looking to protect the ball in a bit of a cage. I do leave this guy on the ground here who could stand up and blitz me one dice. I don't think I end up fouling him. I do a blitz here, knock this guy down to get the assist here, and block him into the corner here. This is where I really start running into troubles. I need to use one of the rerolls, but it's not too bad. It passed, so it was all good. Like I said, the 2-die block uphill, you're going to see a few of them. This is where I run into trouble. So his Minotaur starts to come into the game here, and we start to struggle a bit with armor breaks. I probably got lucky. I think he broke a bit more armor than me, but didn't really have too much to show for it. So I got a little bit lucky in that regard, but the armor breaks did make things pretty hard. As Chaos Dwarves, oh that's right, I think I had to use my Apothecary here. Oh no, I just took the casualty. Yeah, so having a big strength 5 guy running around in my grill, having strength 4 guys in my grill. As you can see here, it's going to be my turn 4, and I am in a terrible, terrible position. That dodge working too was actually huge. I'm not sure why he didn't run this player around first. I think that probably would have been the play, because if he had have failed that dodge, I could have just run down the sideline here and just tried to get far away, try to screen him off back here. But he ends up making the dodge. So we get a knockdown there. We get the ball carrier free, which is relatively important. The plan was to come back into the middle here, and I do end up blitzing with the ball carrier, knocking down his Chaos Warrior, but I do just come back in the middle of the cage, and we don't actually move anywhere for the turn. I reroll this over here, mostly I think just because I want to try and keep as many of his players occupied over here as I can. The Chaos Warrior manages to dodge away, protect himself from getting pushed into the crowd by the Minotaur, but again, not a fantastic position for me, and it does get a little bit worse. Most every time he blitzes with his Minotaur, he's blitzing for 3 dice, so it's pretty reliable. I'm in a lot of trouble here, as you can see. He's managed to base up 2 players onto my Bull Centaur, which is really good work for him. He's managed to prevent this guy from getting any easy blocks. This guy's sort of helping a little bit, but not really. And he's also got control here, so I'm in a lot of trouble. This was good defense by him. It was not easy to get out of this. I do have a few players that can do a little bit over here. And this is where I start to get a little bit lucky, so I managed to make the 4+ dodge away. I have to blitz with the ball carrier. I managed to knock this guy down, which again was important, and I managed to run away a little bit over here. So I managed to escape, but it came down to a 4+ dodge to be able to escape. Rolling a skull there, I had to re-roll that, absolutely. Otherwise he had a free 1-die block on the ball carrier. These guys over here, that guy goes down, just stunned himself, but yeah, I managed to get out of that position. It definitely wasn't easy. I needed to do a 4+ dodge, which he couldn't really stop me from doing the 4+ dodge. I think maybe the only thing he could have done was try to maybe come into here a little bit more. Again, getting lucky, so Claw's coming up, but Mighty Blow having no effect. And I think this turn he just spends mostly trying to base up the ball carrier again. I think this was maybe his one downfall for the game, was that he kept trying to blitz. Or as you can see by turn 5 here, he keeps blitzing Chaos Dwarves when he probably should have blitzed this guy, and it would have been just as good. Again, I'm in a huge amount of trouble though. 2 players basing the ball carrier, a player basing this guy here, so I mean a blockless Hobgoblin's not exactly setting the world on fire. I've got a couple of stuns, so that's making things hard for me. And I managed to push my guy out of the way here, which was good, so I don't have to dodge. Get the knockdown there, knock this guy back, free up the ball carrier, don't have to dodge away. Something for newer players that should be looking at, so if we just go, can I like go back like a little bit, or is that not a thing? Not really a thing, huh? Yeah, so newer players should be sort of looking for situations where they can chain push their players out of trouble, or chain push their opponent's players into positions that they don't want to be in, or it is more advantageous for you. So in this scenario here, I knew I didn't want to dodge away. I still didn't really, having a look at it, the turn lengths in REBBL are a little bit longer than what they are in the other league I play in, the BBL ANZ. And having a look at, I think, my position for a good sort of minute and a half-ish, I still didn't really know where I wanted to go. All I knew is that I wanted to get my ball carrier free. The best way to do that was to try and blitz this guy down, knock him down into this guy, and push this guy out of the way here. If that didn't succeed, then I still had the 4+ dodge as the backup, but yeah, the ideal plan was knock him down, push him out of the way, which we did fortunately get. And like I said, I didn't have a great plan as to where to go from here, so I actually end up stepping backwards and just making sure my ball carrier is in a cage. I tried really hard to just protect the ball at pretty much all costs in this game. Hobgoblin gets knocked out here, but he was sort of out of the game. He was just going to run down here and just try and be annoying running down here. Someone for him to think about, and maybe have to take a Beastman out of the game to mark up just in case I get the ball down to him. So again, he's going to put a lot of pressure on the cage here. I actually quite liked Catman Attack's defense. I liked how much pressure he put on my cage. I thought he put most of his players in really good positions. He sort of recognized that his Minotaur was probably going to be a bit of a make or break player for him in this game. With Claw, with Mighty Blow, he was his best player at taking my players off the pitch. And as Chaos, he was probably banking on getting rid of 1 or 2 Chaos Dwarf blockers. Like I said, there might have been a few times where I think I probably just would have blitzed Hobgoblins. I mean, he's getting 3 dice. He's got Mighty Blow on Armor 7, which is sort of the same as having Claws, you're just not using the Claws. Again, if we have a look here, I'm in quite a bit of trouble. I've got a Beastman marking up the ball carrier and a Minotaur marking up the ball carrier. This guy here is marked up by a Chaos Warrior and a Beastman, and this guy is marked up by a Beastman. So I'm not in a great position. I've got 1 player on the ground, 1 player stunned. This guy stood up and moved 3 spaces, so 3 squares. Not fantastic, and it is turn 7. All I knew is that I needed to try and get someone into scoring position. This guy being my best bet at the moment, and my easiest bet by just standing up and going for it twice. He was in scoring position. I had a whole lot of 1 dice blocks, which I didn't really want to do, but it just is the way that it worked out in this matchup. I had to do them. I managed to block some players out of the way here. again, I had to do a 2 dice block uphill, and I do manage to get myself free. And again, I do manage to dodge away for a 4, blitz his player that was standing up here, and knock him down. So the bull tries to run off into the corner. The bull, having sure feet, can go for it a couple of times, basically until he fails. I just wanted to try and get as far away as I could. Managed to get the dodge away to mark up his player here so that he has to dodge for a 3. Essentially, I just dodged for a 3 to make him have to dodge for a 3, and we get another casualty there, which is pretty big. Given that he's already used his apothecary, he's was going from having 11 players on the pitch to now only having 10 on the pitch, only getting the 1 back. He probably played this a little bit differently than I would have. I mean, I probably would have moved this guy down into scoring position. That would have been the first thing I did. And he elected to go for the 3+ dodge into the 2 dice blitz, rather than this guy actually could have just stood up and gone for it twice to hit me 1 dice. It does pay off, and he does knock me down. And the ball scatter's in a decent position for me. But, yeah, I think something that, again, if you're a newer player, even if you're a more experienced player, just a way I like to play. He moved this guy here, which I don't think does a whole lot. I would have much preferred to see him moving this guy down here, because it signals his intent to score. As it stood, I knew here, from his movements here, if we have a look, it's my turn 8. I still have a chance to score, because the ball's on the ground here, and I've got a player in scoring position. If we have a look at him, it's his turn 8, and just get this turn 8 out of the way. It's his turn 8 next turn, and he has no player in scoring position. So from my point of view, I have much less to worry about. If he had to move this guy down here, and had to move this guy down here, suddenly I have to worry about what my turn looks like. Because here I've got no problems with, you know, dodging away, picking the ball up, falling down, whatever it may be, because there's no downside for me, because he can't score. I don't score, which is obviously a downside, but he doesn't score, so it's not a huge loss for me. 0-0 at halftime. I feel like he probably played this half a lot better than I played this half. I can't be too disappointed with that. 0-0, that's fine. He moves these guys down here, and suddenly I have to think about what I do, because if I just dodge, or what I actually do, 1 dice blitz, and it fails, and I don't cover up these players adequately, or at least try and cover them up, he could potentially just pick the ball up with a beastman, run down, chuck it down, score. So yeah, that was probably one thing that I would have done differently. I probably would have played that turn a lot differently. I would have been a little more aggressive on me trying to score, but he just played, I guess, more defensively rather than aggressively or offensively. So I have a few decisions here. One of the decisions is to just dodge away with the ball, try and pick the ball up, and try and give it to one of these guys. But what I actually saw was that if I could knock this guy out of the way, this guy can come in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, go, attempt to pick it up, and attempt to throw it to the hobgoblin over here. Neither of them are fantastic. My only rationale behind it was, again, if he had have moved someone down here, this still would have been the right play, so I thought that's the play that I should do. Because if I dodge away for a 4, I'm moving 4, 5, 6, go. I'm throwing the ball from here, which is about the same for a bull centaur. It's even worse, I think. It'd be probably a 6 to throw it to this guy here, whereas I think the hobgoblin was at least throwing it for a 5. So we do the blitz here. We managed to get the power down on this guy to knock him free. The stun, the armor break's pretty irrelevant. This guy does manage to get himself onto the ball without having to use the reroll. And he does manage to make the throw. And the hobgoblin does manage to get the pass. So playing like elves out here with 6s all around. And we make the 2 go for us to score. So quite a fortuitous touchdown, it has to be said. But I think that's just an example of when you're playing a game of Blood Bowl, you have to give your opponent lots to think about. There, like I said, he probably didn't give me enough to think about, in that if I failed that, the worst case is that it's 0-0. If he had have moved those couple of players down into scoring position, worst case, I'm 1-0 down, which is a heck of a lot worse. 1-0 down, kicking to him, not feeling good about things. So, yeah, one thing to think about, put your opponent into awkward positions, and he could have put me into a little bit more of an awkward position than what he did there, and in the end I managed to make the dice rolls and it paid off, so quite lucky in the end. I think if we just skip this here, because this is just his setup, he, what happened? We had a throw rock or something, right? Something weird happened. He makes some blocks on the line, his turn 8. Oh, did we crash? No, we're good. One thing you will actually notice is that his turn 8, and he still hadn't used a reroll, so that made it a little bit harder too. He was doing a lot of blocks without block, and like I said, he was breaking a lot of armor. I probably just got lucky that he didn't do some more damage. His first reroll coming in on the line of scrimmage with the Chaos Warrior there. But that'll do. He doesn't really hurt anyone. He gets a couple of stuns. Oh, it was a pitch invasion. That's what we had. He fell over going for it there. I actually don't... I know that it's game 1, but I actually don't like that. I think if that guy has to go for it and you've already used the reroll, just try and pick the ball up with someone else and get the throw. Because if he falls down on that go for it and injures himself, you're in such a bad position for the second half. Because suddenly, now you're down 2 players rather than just down 1 player. It's... And all for just to go for it, like, it's just not worth it at all. So, yeah. But, anyway, first half, managed to score, managed to stall him out, managed to be 1-0 up, managed to keep the Wizard, which is also very important. I wasn't really sure how to set up against his team, to be honest. I wanted to try and be a little bit aggressive, but I also wanted to try and protect my couple of better players in the Mighty Blow player and the Bull, because I wasn't sure whether he would try and use the Minotaur on the line of scrimmage or whether he would try and blitz whoever I left up the front here for him. So Cheering Fans gives him a reroll this half. Another deep kick. We both had really deep kicks, and this is where it starts to fall apart a little bit for the Chaos. He gets a couple of knockdowns here. Gets another armor break again. Pretty lucky that we don't suffer any more damage. But yeah, the both down skull into reroll double skulls really hurts him. He doesn't get the blitz with the minnow. I get why he's trying to do these blocks with these players, but part of me thinks maybe that should have just been a block with this guy. I mean, he put the block player on the line of scrimmage and sort of made it look like he wanted to block with him, but yeah, he didn't end up doing it, which was a little weird. So he doesn't move down to pick the ball up, so we just try and put a bit of pressure on. I think this was a bad move. I don't think I should have done this move. This was pretty irrelevant. This guy probably should have just gone like here. But that guy ends up going there. I don't know. I don't know why I moved that play there. Looking back, I don't like that move at all. He's way too slow. He's not going to do anything. I failed the first go for it and had to use the sure feet, but I really think I did have to do a second go for it, which I did. Again, unluckily for him, first block of the turn, and he has to use the reroll. Just part of playing starting Chaos, I guess. You want to block a lot, you want to do a lot of blocks, but you don't have block, so your players are going to fail from time to time. This is a good play by him. Frees the player up, moves him down there, moves another player back. That's why I think maybe this guy should have just gone like here, maybe. And I would have been happy with that move, or he maybe could have gone here. Make this player have to dodge. Blitzing with the Minotaur, manages to get the knockdown, and manages to break armor with the claw, which keeps him a little bit safe. Means he doesn't have a Bull Centaur hovering around here. He picks the ball up as well, and manages to come back in. I think I should have been more aggressive with this Hobgoblin as well. I just wasn't. I just didn't do anything with him. I just kept him back here as a sweeper. But I don't think I was ever in huge danger, so I think he probably should have been a little bit further forward. This guy should move into here. Yeah, we're just trying to screen him off from the rest of his team and try and keep him in this corner over here. I think I maybe should have left these guys till last. But I didn't. I stood them all up. I kind of regretted this. And this whole turn, I really debated who to blitz. And I really had no idea. And I ended up doing a 1-die blitz on that Chaos Warrior. And it doesn't achieve basically anything. It just stops him from being able to block me. We do manage to push the Minotaur away from ourselves, from our blocker, which is really good. But yeah, looking back at that turn, I think... let me get this out of the way. I think what I should have done is probably blitzed with this guy, or blitzed with this guy, just to get the 2-dice block. Don't get me wrong, a 1-dice block is not always a bad thing. If you've got block and they don't have block, it's only a 1 in 6 to fail, so it's not terrible. It's a 2+, which people do 2+s all the time. But I just think, or I just feel there was a better blitz I could have done there. Because yeah, all I ended up doing was this player was still tied up, this player was still tied up, and this player was still tied up. So I didn't get blocked by this player, but yeah, I don't know. I didn't really like that that play by me. So again, blitzing with his Minotaur, getting a knockdown, getting another armor break. The claw really working for him. But he did have to use the Mighty Blow on that claw. So he moves his player up here and tries to make a bit of a cage here. And this was, I was feeling relatively okay about this, given that he was still pretty far down the pitch. And I had all of these players free that I could do something with. I was feeling pretty good. I think I maybe stuffed this turn up a little bit. I knock his player down. I follow up. I break armor, which is hugely important because he can't just blitz with this guy. But the rest of the turn, I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like my team's too spread out. I'm against strength 4. I feel like that was a misplay. That probably should have been here. I should have moved this guy into here. This is largely irrelevant. And these guys probably should have dodged away last turn because they just spent a turn doing nothing. This guy falls down. I don't elect to reroll it, but that's fine. But yeah, I think I should have dodged with this guy first. There was part of me that thought about, I think I could have 1, 2, 3, go. I could have actually tried to blitz his ball carrier with this guy. I just didn't think it was worth it as a sort of first action. Again, his Minotaur putting in work. His Minotaur was definitely the MVP of this game. I think if I had have put this guy here, it would have forced him to do another block before he just did that. So he manages to escape, and yeah, I wasn't overly happy with how I played that, given that this guy probably... he was just sort of nowhere. He didn't really do anything. He didn't block him off from moving into any particular position. He didn't man anyone up. He should have gone to there to prevent that. I do use the wizard here, so if we just pause this real quick, I did debate long and hard about using this wizard, and I did debate long and hard about where to use the wizard. I thought about using, so where I did end up fireballing was here, this square here, which hit 1, 2, 3, or it had a chance to hit 3. I did debate about doing it here to try and hit the Minotaur as well, so it would have hit 3. And I did debate about doing it here to knock these two down. But as it stands, I managed to get basically the perfect wizard. The perfect wizard would obviously have done a casualty to both of these guys, but the perfect wizard knocked his 2 players down and didn't knock my player down, and that's exactly what happened. It was the perfect wizard. I couldn't have asked for anything more other than to remove these 2 players, but at that point you're just getting greedy. So a really, really good wizard for me. I have a few players spare here. I'm still definitely not guaranteed to sort of pick up the ball and run away here. There's still a lot of work to do. I just bring these players behind, sort of a sweeper here, make this guy, take this guy out of the game. I blitz here, mostly because I just want to try and get someone onto the ball. And this guy can get onto the ball with 2 go-for-its, but he has the sure feet. This guy needs to do the go-for-its, doesn't have sure feet. So I did have to use the sure feet there. I really didn't want to have to use the reroll. Again, my players played more like elves than they probably did anything else, and I managed to dodge away and pick the ball up with the Hobgoblin. This block was actually super important because it meant that he couldn't block here to free his Minotaur up and run around and blitz. That was something that I think some players might not do. Sometimes you've got to risk it because you've got to look at where he can block to free up his other players, and that was definitely a block where he could block there and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go, hit the ball carrier. Him being knocked down means that he can't hit the ball carrier, and his best bet to hit the ball carrier is a dodge away with this guy or a dodge away with this guy, which ideally is a little bit harder to do than to just knock this guy down and then run down there, especially because he'd get a Hobgoblin on the line of scrimmage with a Minotaur basing him. So he elects to just knock him down here, mark up here, dodge away, and blitz here. Which all pays off. He gets the knockdown, but he fails to catch, and the ball goes into, again, a pretty good position for me. It's not covered by anyone from him. I've got one player standing in the tackle zone of the ball who can attempt to knock someone away, and I've got a bull center on the ground here who can stand up and blitz. So at this stage of the game, with 3 turns left, the game's turned into just an absolute scrap after the wizard. This half was sort of a bit of a scrap straight from the get-go, with him failing that block on the line of scrimmage and me being able to get in behind of his team a lot easier than what you would normally be able to get in behind his team. So my rationale behind this is that I should probably just try and get the ball down here. If it fails, it fails, but by me just sort of trying to protect the ball here, I think I'm going to get turned over. I think something similar to what happened the turn before is going to happen every single turn. So my thought process was, we need to get the ball to probably this guy, and we need to try and get him down here. If we don't get it to this guy, we just need the ball to scatter down this way, because at least it's, you know, he's got to work a little bit to get something out of it, given that these players are in a bit more of an advantageous position than my players. They've got the edge on me. They've got the strength edge. So my turn this turn was focused on making sure these players are, I guess, annoyed, in a bit of trouble, and trying to free up the ball. So I free up a path to the ball by knocking this guy down. I managed to get the 1 dice block on this guy and knock him down. I did only need a push, but getting a knockdown was pretty huge. I managed to pick the ball up with this guy, and again, I managed to chuck it to this guy. Luckily, his interception dice weren't on fire, and my passing and catching was on fire. So I made the 4+ pass, made the 3+ catch, and ran down into the corner. Failed to go for it. Needed to re-roll it. But by doing that, so these guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, go, actually couldn't mark me up, which was the important part there. So I don't do any blocks here, which might seem a little bit odd, but given that... so he had to use a reroll there to start the half again, which is a bit of a trend for him in that second half. So me putting this player here, these guys can't actually mark him up. They can't move far enough, and me electing to not do the blocks means that I'm not pushing them back into that one square where they can mark me up. So that was why I went for it those 2 times. Failed one of them, got the reroll, so no harm done there. But that's why these one-die blocks didn't get done when I normally otherwise probably would have thrown them. I mean, he's got block, he doesn't have block, so it's okay odds that I knock him down, and okay odds that I knock him down, but I didn't want to risk rolling a push and then him being able to mark me up with 2 players and me having to roll a 3+ to score rather than me having to do nothing to score next turn. So, yeah, he fails the block there, needs to reroll it, only gets the push, which actually means that guy's marked up, and then he fails the block with the Minotaur, who, like I said, was his MVP before that, but yeah, that pretty much signals the game. I'm not sure if I would have done anything too different that turn if I was him. I maybe would have looked at standing this guy up and moving him down here somewhere to try and put a little bit of pressure on me. I probably would have blitzed with this guy, tried to put some pressure on me down there. Ooh. Excuse me. And I guess I probably would have tried to move someone down into scoring range somewhere, but he didn't. He really didn't have anyone that could move down into scoring range. So I throw a block here. I think I actually should have moved this guy in the corner here, but at this stage I wasn't entirely sure whether or not I was going to score. I hadn't decided yet, so I think I move him down now. But that should have absolutely been the first thing that I did. Not that block there, in case I failed it. It should have been move this guy there. Get the knockdown, which means he's not going anywhere soon. Get the push, but I did think about re-rolling it, but I also thought that I was in a good enough position that him marking me up was going to be okay, because he wasn't going to be able to hurt me. Then I thought, well, I could just blitz him. 3 dice, needed to go for it a couple of times, but it pushes him down and means absolutely no one can get anywhere near me. So the game was locked up at this point. We do manage to sneak away with a 2-0 win. There's not really a whole lot he can do from this position. He can't really get any player down to even really put any pressure on my ball carrier. So yeah, I think overall I definitely got a bit lucky in this game. Needing to make a 5+ pass, catch the ball and go for it twice to score in the first half, and again needing to pass the ball for a 4, catch it, go for it twice in the second half to score. But it probably wasn't just the combination of me getting a little bit lucky, but him in this second half. The chaos being chaos at the start, starting chaos. Chaos Dwarves do, I would say, have the edge in this game at this sort of TV level. The lack of block really lets chaos down. So yeah, we're able to run away with this one, winning it 2-0. I do just stand in the corner. I probably could have just scored, but I didn't really want to give him a turn where he could just hit me again. So I do my best here to just make sure he doesn't get too many blocks. My team struggles with it though, not being able to knock down a couple of guys. Meaning that he does get a couple of blocks. He doesn't really... I don't think he attempts to stop me from scoring here from memory. Yeah, blitzes with the Minotaur. Just getting a push. Getting a knockdown, but me sitting here with my fingers crossed, the Bull Centaur does live to see another day, which is good. His Minotaur just needed another casualty this game. He got one, but he just needed another one. So 1 casualty versus 2 casualties and a knockout. I did have the player advantage. This guy did actually manage to get there in the end, which was really, really good. And in hindsight, I mean, he maybe could have done the blitz there to try and stop me from scoring, but I don't think there's a huge difference between winning 1-0 or 2-0, so I do the blitz here, 1 dice. It's essentially the same as doing a dodge, except I get a chance to knock his player down. So we win 2-0. I ended up getting 3 skills out of the game. So I got a Wrestle Hobgoblin, I got a Guard Chaos Dwarf, and I got a Claw Chaos Dwarf, which was really good. As you can see there, though, 10 armor breaks and 9 armor breaks, but only 1 casualty. I knocked myself out, whereas I got 2 casualties and 1 KO, so a little bit lucky. I threw slightly more, I had more successful blocks than he did, but that's probably to be expected. I also had a heck of a lot more of the ball than he did. He actually didn't get the ball into my half, which is odd. I didn't even notice that. Yeah, didn't even get the ball into my half. I thought he got into my half before I used the wizard, but mustn't have. So, first game of the REBBL, a 2-0 win. A little bit fortuitous, but we'll take it. You have to have those games where you ride your luck a little bit. Hopefully you enjoyed this, I guess. I'm not sure how long this has gone for, but hopefully it was a bit of a punchier review, and I'll try to do this for all of my REBBL games. So stay tuned for round 2, where we are up against some orcs, I believe. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Thanks everyone for watching. Catch you all next time.